Hey everyone, welcome to this spine-chilling room. Amu wasn't scared at all. Instead, he felt he had a story to tell, so he turned off the recorder. He started retracing his steps through the room, convinced someone was playing hide and seek with him. After searching the entire suite, he found no one responding. He thought to himself, that person must be hiding in the ceiling, but honestly, Amu just wanted to forget about it because the air conditioning was way too hot. He peeked in and found the temperature soaring near 80 degrees. At this rate, had we roasted like a barbecue? So, he quickly called the front desk. He asked them to send a repairman out to fix it, and while he waited, Amu got busy with his own tools. He began scanning every corner of the suite, and under the UV light, hidden bloodstains immediately appeared. You could only imagine the horror that unfolded here. Suddenly, a strange noise came from behind. He turned and felt the painting shifting on its own. He mustered up the courage to walk over and straighten the painting. But the feeling in his hands told him that the painting couldn't have moved by itself. Now, Amu finally felt a twinge of anxiety and plopped down in shock. Just then, a knock at the door startled him. He opened it to find the repairman had arrived. But when Amu struggled to open the door, the repairman refused, claiming he'd never enter. He told Amu to open the control box and just tap the receiver inside. Once Amu did all that and turned around, the repairman had vanished. He could have escaped, but he just closed his own exit. He flopped down on the bed, and suddenly, the nearby recorder blared with an ear-piercing tune, causing his drink to go flying. In a fit of anger, he lunged for the recorder and forcefully slammed his switch off. To his surprise, the next second, it started an inexplicable countdown. Just like what the old dude said, no one could stick around in this room for an hour. Amu hurried to record, but as he finished, a ringing deafened him, and the space fell silent. He couldn't hear a thing. Not even a trace of the usual street noise had vanished. Just as he was about to leave the window, it suddenly dropped, smashing onto Amu's hand, and blood burst forth like a scene from a horror movie. Furiously, he turned on the faucet to wash his hand, only for the cold water to turn into scalding hot. Frustrated, Amu grabbed the towel to cover it, and gave it a good kick for good measure. Strangely, the recorder didn't stop. The countdown seemed immune to the power switch. Suddenly, the front desk called, and Amu hurried to answer, but the person spoke a bunch of gibberish he couldn't understand. He blurted out his regrets and wanted to check out of the suite, but it sounded like nonsense. He was in a great hurry to pack his bags and leave the place eagerly, but the door remained stubbornly shut, refusing to open. In despair, he pounded on it with all his might, praying in his heart that someone would hear his plea for help. But outside, there was no one. Normal folks wouldn't dare approach this place. Suddenly, Amu had an idea and ran to the window to shout out. But the passers-by below couldn't hear him. He noticed someone in the building across the way. So he waved and shouted, "Help!" And it seemed like the person spotted Amu. They began mimicking his motions, leaving Amu dumbfounded. But it was too dark to see clearly. No matter what he did, that person was always imitating him, until Amu turned on a lamp. Finally, he saw the person clearly. They looked exactly like him. Just then, another figure appeared behind him. A guy with a hammer smashed down on the other man, and when Amu turned around, he saw the same hammer-wielding man behind him. But he dodged just in time and vanished. Amu was terrified, so he grabbed the lamp and chucked it down. He hoped to catch someone's attention, but the lamp hadn't even hit the ground before it vanished. Before he could react, he heard his daughter's voice behind him. He froze instantly, rushing back to the corner of the room, reminding himself not to trust the hallucinations. The more he tried to stay alert, the more he panicked. Suddenly, the TV showed scenes of his daughter alive. This broke his heart. Ever since his daughter's passing, his marriage had crumbled. Looking at his daughter's familiar face, Amu shed tears, but then he caught sight of some strange figures. It was as if these figures were the previous guests who had all faced terrifying fates. Suddenly, a baby's cries echoed from next door. Amu went over to knock on the wall, hoping for help. He hoped the baby would stop crying, but there was only more piercing wailing in response. This drove Amu's head to near explosion levels. Just then, a familiar voice came from the bathroom. He shakily approached to see his late father, but his dad didn't recognize him at all, as if he were a stranger. He murmured a series of perplexing words. "When your years have passed, you too will find yourself in a situation like mine." The room morphed back into a hotel suite, and Amu suddenly seemed more aware. He realized his father wasn't real. He couldn't just sink into this illusion. Thinking he wouldn't be harmed, Amu hatched a plan. He first checked at the height below. Then he looked at the distance to the adjacent room. He decided to climb out the window. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you next time.